So at TSR, I feel that we do have an extensive experience conducting UX sessions with stimuli and prototypes, and I consider many of us to be experts. So I'd love to hear from as many people as possible on today's topic. I think it'll be a rich discussion. So my first question is, what are the most important things or the top things to consider when conducting UX research with stimuli or prototypes?
2 points. One, regarding the client walkthrough, when we have that discussion guide sync meeting, I always have to have the walkthrough of the STEM because each person has like a different expectation, a different way they want things presented. And then just so that I understand exactly how they want me to work the STEM and, what to, so to me, that's key. And then the other thing I want to talk about, I feel that it's important to understand from the client what is important to them to know and to focus on in that usability and interface.
So what are some best practices for conducting UX research with stimuli and prototypes? Best practices. This could be setup. This could be, I know we already talked about like having that walkthrough with the client and what the client needs, but what about your thoughts on the actual setup when you're sharing either stimuli or prototypes? Sarah, what did you see as any advantages with the external camera?
So I think that's one of those things, like on a case-by-case basis, if it is something that the researcher really feels like they need in order to get like the data that they need, it's something that we can do, but it's definitely something that they would need to be comfortable with, like building in a lot of buffer time to kind of like account for a more complicated setup like that.
Sometimes on screen sharing, especially if it's on phone, you can't see what they're actually clicking. You just kind of see the next screen. It's a little different when it's on the computer and you can follow the mouse. But I think that's where that benefit comes. But on the flip side, we would have to kind of remind participants not to just like cover the whole screen with their hand while trying to hit something, that they kind of have to like go at an angle so you can see it there. So I think it's very specific if it's important to see kind of the pathway and where they're clicking and how to get there. For that one, it was all about like what entry point they go through, where there's like 7 different ways you could access it.
An alternate solution that we've done, and maybe this is what you were going to say too, Alexis, but is we've done this thing called a hug a laptop. And so it's where you have the participant, like you all are looking at your canvas right now, turn it around backwards, and then they hug the laptop so you can see what they're doing on their phone and see exactly where they tap and the path that they go down. Super, non-techy, but it's really awesome because they can talk to you as they're clicking and they can't make stuff up. You can follow exactly where they went and then record that kind of screen share in that way.
We do a lot of like CTV sessions so like participants are actually showing us their TV instead of their phone. And we have to do a lot of what Eric was saying of like, show me your remote and point on the button, like what you're clicking on.
So speaking about a lot of stimuli, how do you assess the true length of a guide when there are a lot of stimuli? Or maybe asked another way, how do you fit it all in or prioritize?
Just make sure you build in that buffer time to kind of restructure. But I mean, even if you do think you can fit everything, I always feel like it's super helpful for them to point to questions that are higher priority. In case you have extra time, then like kind of what to circle back to.
No, I think that's great. I've done that as well, Alexis, where I ask them, what are your must-have questions as you go through? And I might bold them in my guide or something like that so that I focus on those. And if I'm running good on time, I can do more of them. I think that's a good approach as well.
Too, that I think is helpful is if you ask if they can have someone from their technical team available, like just a way that you can get in touch with them directly, because then you're not funneling it through this researcher who doesn't know either and getting straight to the engineer or tech person.